freedom and shit. No, not yet. No, we're still completely fucked constitutionally. People are still unreasonably scared of the virus at this point. And yeah, and it's pretty much widespread across the country, mandate or no. Though I will say some states are definitely treating their businesses, their small businesses, better than others. For example, like if you go to a bar in South Dakota, there's no weird, stupid rule, because you're going to a bar. You're probably taking a chance. And you're allowed to make that decision. There's been people in New York breaking the rules this entire time. Particularly in New York City, which is supposed to be the most locked down fucking place. I've heard firsthand accounts of block parties. People are gathering. Not to mention the protests that have been ongoing and continuing this whole time. Yet, for some reason, certain groups of people are being persecuted by Cuomo and de Blasio. Particularly, in this case, college students. If a college student gathering doesn't have a BLM sign, they are completely fucked. They're getting kicked out of school. They're getting locked up on mandatory quarantines. They're being forced to take the test. And they're paying for this fucking, to have all of this done to them. And I hate to break it to you, this is going to leave a lasting impression on kids, and this is our future. This is people who are going to be in charge of us. So I guess the hope that I have is that they'll say that this is bullshit, and in the future get rid of some of these new powers of authority that have been destroying the country, in my opinion. So anyways, these kids on Labor Day weekend had parties in Washington Square Park. You can look this up. It's not widely covered. You want to know why it's not widely covered? Because it's been 1 week now. you would think we'd see a big spike in not only in cases, but in hospitalizations, right? If this is so fucking bad and these kids just flaunted the rules. But you're forgetting that people have been flaunting the rules in New York City the whole time. Between protests, block parties, people are gathering. They're not wearing masks. They're enjoying each other's company. They're doing what fucking we should be free to do. But now, we've taken that authority and we've given it to our retail corporations who are essentially policing you at this point. If you want to go into a Best Buy or into a Walmart or into a grocery store, you're going to find that these motherfuckers are policing whether or not you're wearing a mask, but they're not policing social distancing, ironically enough. There's been plenty of times I've been in a store wearing a mask, and I've come within fucking feet of motherfuckers. And they've come in within feet of me. It wasn't like I was going around crowding everybody. No one seemed to give a shit about the 6 feet. Why? Because they think the mask is everything. No, it's the social distancing too. Combined with the mask, gives you maybe a 10% less chance of spreading the virus. Let's just get back to normal, people. Sweden did it. They're doing fine. Sweden doesn't wear masks. They aren't limiting capacity of their businesses. They aren't even social distancing all that much. And, you know, there's absolutely no proof when you compare lockdown to open in terms of one doing worse than the other. In fact, there's many cases where lockdown states or countries have done worse, number-wise, than free and open societies that just say, hey, wash your hands. You know, take the normal precautions when you're sick that we've never did with the flu or any other fucking disease we had. You know, it's... How long are we going to do this for? You know? How long? Before we realize we're being completely fucking stupid. I've been saying it the whole time, and I still get people that hate that I say this. Because they bought into the narrative. They don't want to, like, realize that this has all been a fucking waste. That we've destroyed the economy, put thousands upon millions of Americans out of fucking work. We've removed some small businesses and restaurants that will never reopen. And I'm seeing them all over the country, these economic consequences. And what's going to happen in those consequences? You're going to see a lot less mom and pop businesses and entrepreneurs, and a whole lot of corporate shit is going to swoop in and buy this shit at rock bottom prices, the properties, the businesses that are there. Or in some of the towns I've gone through, the main street is entirely dead. Not a single, like maybe one fucking antique shop in the whole fucking town. Why? Because 10 miles down the road, they got Walmart. That's all you need, right? Walmart and Amazon. We're good. No more retail, apparently. No more restaurants either. You know? Now, I would say the restaurant is still surviving in a lot of fucking places, but mainly in states that aren't restricting the occupancy anything beyond 50%, which is something New York could probably take a few pages from. You know, I realize there are some municipalities in New York that are pretty lenient on the 50% rule. But then there's some that are just like 30% capacity. It's weird, you know, the whole thing, particularly New York City. New York City is, I think, still restricted to where you can't have more than 30% in a restaurant. And as such, mass exodus from New York City for small businesses and for people. Now, granted, some people are just moving within the state to, you know, upstate areas that are a little bit less restricted than New York City. But, you know, when you see Cuomo's reaction and what the media and the colleges are doing to these students who essentially are protesting it by just fucking living their lives. You know, people go to college not to learn. They go there to socialize and make connections. Let's face it, nowadays you don't need to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get an education. You can do it from the comfort of your own home and in your spare time for very little money. But that's not the college experience. that these kids are. Now, I'm not 100% behind colleges. Don't get me wrong. I'm a college dropout for all intensive purposes. I don't like the indoctrination that goes on there, and there's a lot of things about the college kids today that I'm just like, okay, we're fucked. once these motherfuckers are in charge. But one thing I can agree on is these kids, though they're not doing it for the right reasons, are exercising their First Amendment rights. Peaceable assembly. Something that has been trounced upon with this social distance, quarter capacity group. Can't even fucking go out in a park in some fucking states. It's stupid, it's asinine, and it's unconstitutional as fuck. And let's face it, in the grand scheme of things, it isn't doing shit. All right? We're still getting plenty of people getting infected. We're still getting plenty of people. As long as you can go into Walmart and Costco and these places together, not to mention the absolutely ridiculous going into the fucking restaurant, taking your mask off when you're seated, and then when you stand up, you put the mask on. Like somehow that's... And a lot of these restaurants weren't designed with social distancing in mind. Literally, you're fucking sometimes less than 6 feet away from the nearest table, as much as they try and shield everybody. And then you got some places that are so scared, they got the fucking plexiglass up everywhere. You can't really understand the fucking waiters and waitresses in half the places because they're from the fucking mask. You know, this is not normal life, and I don't want it to be normal life. And I think we've been at this long enough. We've definitely fucking flattened the curve, all right? We flattened the fucking curve. It's time to fucking go back to normal. COVID isn't going anywhere. It's going to be part of our lives forever. Vaccine isn't going to do shit. Look at the flu vaccine. Did that get rid of the flu? Absolutely not. In fact, it created a market for Big Pharma to charge unbelievable amounts of money to people every fucking year to get a vaccine for fucking different strain of the flu than's actually going around. It's just going to be the same with COVID. There is scare. I don't think they're going to go as far as mandatory vaccination, but they are going to make it a pain in the ass, you know, like, and particularly if we allow them to, which is what we're doing with these mask mandates and social distancing rules, which are all unconstitutional as fuck, not to mention unnecessary at this point. This is my opinion, by the way. I'm just a dickhead in a truck. If I get fucking deleted or censored because I have an opinion on something, well, then this isn't the platform for me. Turns out you can find my shit on LBRY if this video disappears. And I will also make sure that everyone knows where to find my shit if this happens. I myself, I'm kind of in this weird position where occasionally I need to go into a store, and that store has massive fucking rules about masks and all other bullshit. And in order to function in that situation, I have to wear a mask. So as many of you know, I've been wearing this for quite a while. It's seen better days. I think I look ridiculous in it. But I was wearing one of my athletic Walmart shirts, which is about, I think I bought it for $8. And I noticed that it's completely perforated in terms of breathability. So I pulled it up over my face and I started breathing, and I'm like, this is fucking almost like not wearing it. And plus, it's not hugging my face. It's just dangling, so the wind kind of comes through, the air comes through the sides. And I started wearing this. And the way I wear it is just like this. I cut up the shirt. I put it over my head as if I was going to pull my shirt up. And this is my compromise for shopping now, because it's the only time I mask up. A lot of the fucking companies I go to, they don't really give a fuck. And I think I've only been asked by Walmart distribution centers to wear a mask. A lot of them have the signs up, but a lot of the employees aren't complying with those. And usually if the employees aren't complying, they're not in a position to tell you what to do. And it's the same with retail. So I designed this to meet the requirement of a cloth face covering, which this is, you know, and the thing is, people are still so scared. I've gone into some businesses and they're like, do you want a mask? Because they see me wearing this, and I guess they feel sorry for me, like I can't afford the paper fucking masks that are running around and are useless also in my book. So I wear this, and it's 10 times more comfortable than even the bra cap was, and the bra cap was questionable. This allows me to breathe. It allows sound to travel through it more, so I can talk through it easier. And while on principle it means I'm complying with this unconstitutional rule, at the same time, a business does have the right to ask me to comply with a certain dress code or with certain such things. So that is the loophole that many places force you to wear this. There's no legal consequences for me not wearing it. It's just a matter of the business saying, can you wear it? And a lot of businesses, you can walk in and be like, they ask you to wear it. And I've used this a few times in states where I know for sure that it's part of the mandate says if you have an underlying medical condition, you don't have to wear the mask. And so I've used that. I will say I get a lot of anxiety from that because people still treat you like shit and give you dirty looks and all of that shit. When you go into places like this. This solved that problem for me. It's mildly annoying to wear it, but I'm able to function. And I'm able to meet their requirement that I cover my mouth and nose, which I do. And I can still tell it's fucking with people because I still get asked, do you want a mask? You know, and I'm like, no, I have a mask. I've done it, had to do it twice now. Once in Best Buy and once in Walmart, or no, not Walmart, Guitar Center. I went into Guitar Center because I'm looking for some shit for my music gear. They, of course, didn't have any of what I was looking for. But straight up, when I walked in, the mask Nazi at the door was like, do you want a mask? And I was like, I have a mask. And I gave him a look, an aggressive look. I'm like, you want to mind your own fucking business, you fucker? Sorry. But that's the thing, you know, it's unavoidable in almost every state from what I'm seeing. If you know of where you live, the businesses don't give a shit, let me know. I want to know where all the fucking places are that I can go in this country that haven't caved into this propaganda and bullshit. All right? The numbers don't support it, people. From the CDC releases to the fact that in Oneana, they had this big outbreak with 0 hospitalizations, 800 cases of positive with a very oversensitive PCR test, which isn't even specific to COVID-19, that is being used widely in these numbers that are being reported. But when I saw that Oneana in New York had 800 plus cases with 0 hospitalizations, and it's been 2 weeks since that happened, by the way, that says that we've achieved either a less lethal strain of the virus or our immune systems have gotten up to speed and are dealing with it. And in a lot of those cases, you won't even be able to transmit the disease because, you know, your immune system is protecting not only you, but those around you. You have such a small amount that you'll still trigger that PCR test as a positive, but you won't necessarily be spreading it. Or if you are spreading it, you're spreading a less lethal variant, which has no symptoms, which doesn't send you to the hospital. No fever, nothing. Just fucking maybe a couple of people of that 800 had a fever. That is a nice and what they did to those kids, locking them up, forcing them to quarantine for 14 days, no symptoms, no hospitalizations, community spread, no hospitalizations. I'm pretty sure the viruses tend to become less lethal so they can survive. The more lethal a virus is, the less likely it is to survive in nature. So when you see that the death counts and the hospitalization counts have dropped across the board, And now that you've seen that we've been counting, you know, cases of like somebody has a heart attack, they test positive for COVID, it's a COVID death. Somebody, you know, now I'm not saying COVID can't exacerbate these illnesses, but these are illnesses that if you dealt with them properly and you became healthy and you did everything you could to take care of those particular instances, to not even get them in the first place would be a good step. Now, granted, a lot of people fucked up already and they're in that gray area and they should be a little extra cautious. But that doesn't mean we have to shut everything down. They can protect themselves. If you really are concerned, full PPE, face shield, surgical, or actually N95 mask, one of those level masks, and, you know, gloves, and, you know, if you really want to protect yourself, you can. It's really that simple. If you're vulnerable or you have a comorbidity that you think puts you in a high risk of complication if you throw a respiratory disease, and mind you, if you got the flu in that situation, you could be fucked. And we've seen that. But I acknowledge that COVID-19 probably does exacerbate some of these illnesses. But at the same time, there's evidence, overwhelming evidence, that they're counting anybody that tests positive with COVID as a COVID death. When, you know, and you can't do that scientifically. You have to separate the people that would have died anyway from the people that are dying because of COVID-19. And that is a very small number, and a lot of those people are above, like, I think the median age is 85. And I don't know about you, but after 80, I'm pretty much going to be counting the days to, you know, sooner or later, something's taking me out, you know. And it could be the flu, it could be a heart attack. And, you know, I'm seeing people my age die of these things, non-COVID. And we need to start taking better care of ourselves. That's the bottom line. If COVID taught us nothing else, is that we should be addressing our health, we should be addressing our nutrition, we should be addressing our lifestyle, because if you are not healthy, then it doesn't take much for nature to come in and fuck you up. In terms of bacteria, in terms of infections, in terms of sickness and illness, that can complicate. And it's not just limited to COVID. But this does not require shutting down society to wearing masks all the time for the rest of our natural lives. It seems they want us to do this, to social distance. We're social creatures. We thrive and mate and do everything on social interactions, all right? And if you're taking that away, then you're going to get all kinds of problems. And I do believe that's a contributing factor to the civil unrest. It's just the very fact that our life has been completely uprooted. We're not allowed to function normally without feeling like we're fucking criminals. And it seems like a lot of people are just taking that extra step and actually becoming fucking criminals. Simply because of these restrictions and freedoms and the economy getting tanked. When you don't have a fucking job and you're pissed off at the government and you're pissed off at everything else, you tend to end up in the fucking civil unrest category. And I do believe that a lot of the civil unrest is spawning because of what we've done with lockdowns. They've gone on entirely too long, and there's no reason for it anymore. When you look, I mean, I don't know how you could not realize this when you watch a Cuomo briefing, where he starts out the briefing with the numbers, and the deaths are in the single digits, and the fucking, you know, new cases are still up, because they're testing a lot of people. A lot of people are still testing positive. That, to me, is a problem with the testing system, which is why I'm not a big fan of the testing system, you know. I mean, even China stopped testing after a while. I mean, at what point do we stop testing? Are we going to keep doing it? If the hospitals aren't overwhelmed and people aren't dying left and right from it, it's probably no different than anything else that fucking kills us at this point. And I would argue COVID-19 is a cause of death in some cases. But, you know, when you look at the CDC data, as far as people that died just from COVID-19 with no other conditions, that is a very, very low number in a very, very elderly population. You know, 6%. Everyone else has multiple, in a lot of cases, comorbidities, heart disease, diabetes, all of these very serious illnesses, which are going to kill people eventually anyway. It's just a matter of how much longer would you have been able to go on had you not contracted COVID-19. And I would argue that there are people who are old that have gotten COVID and recovered. There are people that have had diabetes and are obese that have gotten COVID and recovered. Granted, they probably had a hard time with it. And I would argue that your health will determine your ability to deal with not just that illness, but the flu or any other illness that comes along. I've known people that have gotten plenty of pneumonia in their life. My mother's gotten pneumonia several times over the years. It's a matter of health. Take better care of yourself, and COVID won't fuck you up. It's really that simple. Get healthy. Work on your diet, work on your lifestyle. If you're a smoker, if you're doing a lot of heavy drinking and shit, these are all things to consider that are going to make you vulnerable to just about any illness. If you take care of that stuff, the evidence is clear that COVID won't fuck you, it won't take you out. And that's the majority of people will not die from COVID if you get it. When you look at the case rate, which the media just loves to panic you with, they're not talking about the death rate as much. They mention it every once in a while, and they try to inflate it to make it sound worse, but it's not the millions that they said we were going to get, is it? They were projecting 2 million people to have died from this disease in the United States alone by this point in time, early on. Are these the experts we want to rely on to determine how your freedoms are out there? To determine what you can and can't do, who you can visit, who you can associate with, what businesses you can go into, where you can travel? Is this the power we want to give these experts who are not elected, who are not chosen? And how do we weigh in on whether or not someone's an expert? Who gets to make that call? I think we should put that into the elections. Is Dr. Fauci a good expert? Yes or no? Put it in the ballot box. And if the answer's no, you don't fucking listen to them. It's really that simple. But no, these are unelected people that are making policies through your governors and mayors, and it's ridiculous. We've empowered experts, in quotes, to create policy this way. And not only that, we've delegated enforcement of those policies to small businesses and minimum wage employees who just want to go to work and don't want to have to deal with telling people shit all day. I've seen it. I wouldn't want their job, and I feel for them, but at the same time, I'm not going to let them take away my freedom by proxy. Now, as I said, I came up with this compromise because it fits all of the regulations and allows me to breathe oxygen, which is essential. That's my medical condition, by the way. Whenever I go in and I use the medical condition experience, when I'm ready to, handle the social anxiety that comes with this situation, if they were to press me, I'd tell them it's none of their business. But deep down, I need oxygen to fucking live. That's my medical condition for not wearing this shit. And the more fucked up your mask is, the more you're going to breathe your own fucking exhale. And I don't give a fuck what study you cite. I've experienced it personally, and it makes me feel like shit. Not to mention if I do anything remotely athletic that requires a lot of oxygen. All my fat cells need oxygen, apparently, so the mask isn't cutting it. That's the other thing, too. Like, there was one instance where I walked to a Walmart and I saw an obese, clearly morbidly obese individual, probably had diabetes, walk right past the mask guardian, and the mask guardian didn't say a word. So I saw that and I was like, well, there's my ticket for not wearing a mask. So I walk in and they aren't even evenly enforcing it. It's weird. So they asked me if I wear a mask, and I'm like, medical. And I just kept walking. they were like, okay. But I will say that even when I do that, that social anxiety ticks up into the very uncomfortable range. So until we get more people that are stopping with this shit, this is my compromise till then. And I don't like it. I don't like that I have to do this, you know, that I'm cutting the corners and everywhere, but I got to pick my battles. You know, I know people that have quit their job based on this. I know people because they don't want to wear the mask 12 hours a day. I know people that won't go into certain stores because of this, in which case Amazon thanks you for your service. You know, pick your battles. You know, if I'm just going in to a retail store, unless I really, really want what they got, I'm going to not wear the mask whenever possible, barring the social anxiety issue, or I'm going to wear this. That's it. This is as far as I'll go, motherfuckers. So when you ask me if I need a mask, even though I'm wearing this already, fuck you, I'm not getting it. And then what are you going to do? Because I'm not really breaking your rule. It says face coverings required on the door. That's what this is. Never mind that it's 100% ineffective. Like, I can see through it. And I can breathe through it, is more importantly. But nowhere in the regs does it say that this is inappropriate. It's a shirt. It says you can use a shirt. I'm using a shirt. Didn't say what the shirt had to be made of. Didn't say anything. Now, there have been studies that have shown that there's like certain things that you put around your face that are making it worse. This probably qualifies. But you know what? That's why they made our immune systems. And clearly, when you look at the case hospitalization and fatality rate, our immune systems are doing a pretty good job. And if your immune system isn't doing a good job, maybe you need to do stuff to repair your immune system and get healthier. And in the meantime, lock yourself away from society like you're forcing some of us to, and forcing pretty much everyone to, and protect yourself. Straight up. Everyone watching this has 100% the capability of protecting themselves if you're scared, or if you have comorbidities, or if you're elderly. It's really quite simple. Protect yourself. Do not try and guilt trip the rest of us and virtue signal the rest of us to fucking do it. All right? Not if you want this country to survive. It's really that simple, and believe me, the survival of America and a lot of other countries that are fucked up like this is in jeopardy. You know? Maybe you want to live in a little room and order all your shit from Amazon and only go grocery shopping when you go out and not do anything fun. I can't tell you how sad it is when I drive by like amusement parks and water parks and, you know, casinos and all kinds of shit that's out here that people do for fun to entertain themselves. Now, I'm all for nature, but can't even go out to all the parks in nature. In some states, you can't. They're closed. They've got fucking police tape around them. You know, at some point, we got to get back to life. And that means we're risking getting sick. We're risking getting hit by a bus. We're risking getting hit in the head with a Molotov cocktail. We're risking all kinds of shit. When you go outside your door, or even if you stay in, you might get burnt to the ground like the whole West Coast with the fucking wildfires, which I don't think are that wild. I've never seen this amount of fires out here. And that leads me to believe that regardless of motive, because they haven't confirmed this, somebody's out there starting fires. Well, we need to find out who the fuck it is exactly and stop them, but I don't think we're stopping them. And they have caught motherfuckers intentionally starting those fires. I won't get into that. But you could be in your house just chilling. You could have been in the house for this whole time, and then all of a sudden a wildfire is fucking in your yard. And they're knocking on your door. Hey, you gotta go home. You gotta go, motherfucker. The fire's coming. And then you go somewhere and you come back and you got this big pile of ash where your house used to be. You're at risk no matter what. The very nature of our existence is risk versus reward. Survival isn't easy. And it requires a lot of things lining up. Your immune system, your luck, you know, and your skill at survival. And this is from somebody who gets put, my life is put at risk every day in this truck. I can't tell, even yesterday, triple lane change, slams on the brakes right in front of my fucking truck just so that they could get off the exit. You know, not realizing that I had to get on the brakes pretty good, and thankfully I had enough room still, but feet away from an issue there because they decided at the last minute that they needed to go from the hammer lane, 3 lanes over, to the exit that we were literally just passing. Happens all the time, you know. Is what it is. In fact, while I'm recording this, I just watched the pickup truck totally just off-road into another road from a rest area on the highway. It's interesting. Well, I'm going to get back to work. I am heading to Illinois. I was just down in Louisiana. By the way, I just narrowly missed a hurricane down there. It's part of the job, too. I'm hoping I don't get sent to any of the wildfire areas because the air quality looks like shit there. But I'm doing all right out here. I've been concentrating a lot on my music and learning and practicing and stuff like that. I've made a lot of songs. I don't know if I'm going to release all of them. I don't know if they're any good. Maybe I'll do a full like mix session where I just have all of them strung together in one video so that you guys can judge for yourselves if it's something you can chill to. My home time is scheduled for South Dakota. However, I am having second thoughts about changing my residency. I think I might, because it's going to be a pain in the ass to switch my CDL while I'm on the truck. I think when I do my mini retirement in the spring, or maybe the summer, depends on my finances, that'll be when I decide to do the residency change. Because likely, I don't know if any, the company I'm with is going to put up with me taking 6 months off. And if they don't, then I'll have to get another job. So it'll be a nice smooth transition. So I'll keep paying Cuomo for now. I hate it though. I wish somebody would stand up to that motherfucker other than these college kids. That's the problem. Only the college kids are standing up to them. None of the businesses that I can see. I haven't seen anything in the news about businesses protesting and opening anyway. Like you heard about that gym in Jersey that was like, fuck you, and turned into a political office. We're not seeing stories like that in New York. We're seeing stories of browbeaten college kids for having fun. Because you know what? In the state of New York, fun is illegal. Fun. No fun at all. No karaoke, no concerts, nothing. You will go to Walmart and you will go home and watch Cuomo on the internet and the media. That's all you're allowed to do in New York. You can't party because we'll come for you. Now, granted, we're not to the level of shutting off your power like they are in California, but still, you think those parties aren't going on? You tell people they can't go to the bar without the mask or without 50% fucking capacity and they have to stay away from all the other patrons, which is the complete opposite of reason you go to a fucking bar. You think they aren't having house parties? Sorry to break it to you, Cuomo, but you can't break the constitutional freedom because the liquor authority only has authority over the bars, doesn't have authority over some dickhead in his house. And you know what? The way you've been treating cops lately, I'd be surprised if any of them enforce your fucking stupid mandate, which is not law, dickhead. Laws are passed, all right? Mandates are just that, and the only reason you can make them is because you haven't relinquished your long overdue emergency power, you fucking piece of shit. Get him the fuck out of the governor's mansion. Fuck!